Hello and welcome to another episode of Casual Friday. I'm here with the Duck. As always, the show is brought to you by Woo. Links available in the description below. Now, Don, I'm not saying that yesterday's Altcoin Thursday was uploaded at a reasonable time, but I only published it at like 3 a.m. when I remembered that I didn't hit publish, but that is maybe what happened.
No way.
Yeah. So
I
the top
didn't even
comment,
notice.
of course you didn't notice, you didn't care about this channel. But the top comment was something like 3 a.m. Altcoin Thursday, let's fucking go. And it's like, not quite. We're not that degenerate. It's just, I guess I'm an incompetent, logistically retarded piece of shit.
So what you're saying is you posted at the Pico bottom.
At the pico fucking bottom. It was actually deliberate. You're so right. I'm going to give myself credit there.
Oh, well, I didn't know, so, I mean...
It's all coming out now. What do you want to confess? How much of the ref money have you been spending on cocaine and prostitutes?
No.
This has got to be some cheap coke and prostitutes, though, if it's our ref money.
I mean, it used to be good. No.
Back in the day
when no one was liquidated yet. Now that the market moved down 5%, everyone's dead.
No, but that's wrong because it's our audience, Don. They didn't get liquidated. They just made millions and retired. It's everyone else's refs that get liquidated because they watch bad content.
I actually think that's reasonably close, given how many people have DM'd me saying, hey, I made $1 million on this or that, just because you called it. I'm like, just fuck off. Especially if I didn't take the position, I'm like, just fuck off, leave me alone. But yeah.
But that's in the past, and it seems like the present is you not missing a single opportunity to FUD the Pico bottom on
the
BTC.
Pico bottom.
Like,
yeah, people are actually people are actually on Twitter being like, Don, haha, look at you. And I'm like, you guys will completely lost it. Like, look at the daily time frame. We're still at that range though. So I don't know. I don't know where all of that Pico bottom talk is coming from, other than the fact that we had like a few wicks. But I think this is to be expected, honestly.
At 2 a.m. they tried to jam this thing and didn't really go anywhere. Is this enough of a wick? I mean, we're going to jump timeframes a little bit, start with the daily almost, but we'll work our way back. Is this enough of a wick to constitute a failed breakdown in your view, or is it not, basically?
I mean, technically I wanted it to wash out below 60K, and it did that just barely, right? So we had a little bit of a washout of sorts. But I don't think it's necessarily enough. It could be if this market is like super strong and it's just going to continue ranging. I think that would actually be quite good for just future price action, as in if this goes for like a week or two sideways longer while holding the range. My preferred setup would obviously be the range breaks to the downside, and then you can properly pick up some below, like significantly below 60, but that doesn't have to happen, right? But yeah, I still think we're in the exact same situation we were yesterday or the day before or the 5 days before that, where we're just basically back at a range low that's kind of shitty. If the momentum continues bullishly, obviously that we can push away from that support and then we can go towards resistance, which has the same situation, right? Like the resistance at 72 is as shitty as the support is at 61, 62. So basically you have to have the momentum continue like this. I doubt it will, but if it would, then maybe there's a chance it just goes. But for me, still the same, really. Like nothing's changed in between today and yesterday or the day before that.
The plan remains unchanged, to quote one famous analyst, respectfully.
Oh, yeah, a famous philosopher.
It's really the Socrates of our time. Don, looking at this daily chart, there's someone who longed the daily close above support with a stop at the low and is waking up not particularly happy at the moment.
It's fucked. Like it's look at the wicks too. Like we had an SFP of an SFP of an SFP, right? Like
your favorite bullish setup.
yeah, I love it when that happens. Shows so much strength when you continue wicking people out to the bottom. But yeah, a lot of people probably kind of got shit on by just having the stop loss right below the low and got wrecked overnight.
For sure. It's in the middle of the night as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it's a little bit fucked up.
Yeah, it's one of those that you wake up to and then ruin your day at your desk trying to find a setup that you don't get.
Especially if you imagine you took that trade and then you wake up, you look at price, and you're like, fuck yeah, it's like I'm even more in profit now than I was like before I went to bed. And then like after a full day of doing whatever else, you look at your positions and you're like, wait, where is it?
I mean, that's not true, Don. No one does a full day of doing other things without looking at their positions.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah, maybe you do, but normal people don't.
Okay, fair enough.
What do you check first when you wake up, and by the time you get to your phone? What's your kind of hierarchy of needs?
Oh, so I wake up and I check if I got any messages.
Okay.
And then I check like Reddit or whatever.
Oh God, this
Doesn't have to be
explains
Reddit.
so much, Don.
This doesn't have to be Reddit. Can be whatever news.
How many polycules are you a part of?
No, it's good for
you
like
commie cuck. Sorry.
I would say like 90% of that website is trash, but
Right.
there's a few hidden gems there where I'm like, oh, this is quite nice. But no, I these days I don't go check for the charts until I actually get to my desk, which
Wow.
is sometimes like 3 or 4 or 5 hours after.
Why are you
waking
so
up.
well adjusted?
Oh, I mean, having a child and a family does that to you, bro.
I wake up just in sheer panic and immediately load TradingView to see if the whole thing was a fugazi and we're at 20k. And then it's WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, and then websites I can't talk about because this is a family show. In any case, so yeah, I think this range is pretty self-evident from at least from a TA point of view. 61.2, 63-ish range low. At this point, it's very battered. Same with resistance; it's very battered. I think it's a very good point. Actually, it works both ways, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned two things that were interesting. One is that you don't think this bounce is going to go anywhere, and the second is that maybe if there are some momentum signals, the range would become actionable again. Could you justify both of those views, or are they just classic Don gut assertions?
No, I mean, like when you have this shitty support, right? Like the more often you bounce on it, the worse it gets. So like if this momentum doesn't hold and it decides to kind of meander back downwards again, like at that point it's very, very likely to fail. And it gets the more often it gets tested and holds, but doesn't move away from it, the worse it gets, right? Because then you have more and more and more people, or like more and more positions lined up to like for slaughter, basically.
I don't know. It seems like the more you shit talk it, the stronger it gets. That seems to be the new TA.
I mean, it's if it holds, that'd be good, right? Just generally, I think it's worse to trade, but just generally, like a bunch of people are not going to lose their money, so fair enough. But yeah, basically, you need the momentum to continue and to actually push through resistances, and I think there's like you can draw a midpoint in between that range, and I think be decent. We're kind of currently struggling with 65k ish, and that's a resistance that I've had on the chart for a while.
Is it the green cluster on the daily, or is it something else?
No, it's just basically I had on the daily on the 16th of March, 17th of March,
right.
The bottom of that, basically.
Oh, fine, yes.
And that acted as support, and it's now acting as resistance. If that breaks, that'd be a first indication that maybe the range low is actually gonna like hold, and I think that's at that point a better invalidation than the range low itself.
Surely this wick will be fine.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like that's what everyone was thinking. Like I mean, like you sarcastically just mentioned, like, oh yeah, now we wicked, so we can go up, and then we've done it 3 times. So yeah, you want to see a little bit of a bullish close above 65. I think that's the first significant kind of level.
Sure.
And then if you get back above 68, I think at that point it just makes sense to look for like a reasonably close invalidation on the lower time frames and just slam it and bet on like 78, 80k. Because like I said, I think the top of the range is as shitty as the bottom of the range. So kind of playing into that as like a long play into resistance is actually not the worst.
Well, let's hope your analysis of the range high is better than your analysis of the range low, Don. That's all I'll say.
Fuck off. The market bounces 2%, and you're like,
bro, this is the best daily candle we've had in weeks.
It's actually true though.
Put some fucking respect on its name.
Like price action's been quite shit.
It's been pretty shit, yeah.
Like compared to what we're used to in the last 50 days. Like
Yeah, it's
this
like
has
you
been
catch
ranging
like a
for 50
1 hour
days.
dip and then it's new highs immediately. That's
Yeah.
what kind of became conditioned to. I think these levels are good though. Range low, still the range low. You've got a sort of short-term trading first trouble area of sorts at 65.3-ish, 64. And then the range high will make more videos, I guess. That's fine. That makes sense. The only other question I have on this time frame is that one of the bases, I guess one of the premises you've used to make quite good arguments in the past was that SFPs, or so-called SFPs, I know Tom would have a heart attack if he saw what
Yes.
crypto Twitter's calling SFPs nowadays, but these kind of wick spikes, as reversal patterns, they need to be contextualized, right? And if the market keeps doing them without going anywhere, then it's actually a sign of the opposite market effect. So if you have, for example, a resistance level and the market keeps spike, you might be inclined to think that, oh, look at all these SFPs, the market's so weak. But actually, the fact that it keeps poking and not fucking going anywhere is a sign of strength, right? And eventually,
Yeah.
it just, breaks out and rolls over those traders who are just punting that over and over again. Have we spent enough time at this range low for you to make a similar argument or have a similar view, where it's just like spike, SFP, SFP? It's actually sort of skews more towards weakness than strength. Is that viable at this point, or have we not spent enough time down here? Do you need more time down here, Don?
Nah, I think it's viable. I think it's not the best signal. It is a little bit rectified by the fact that the S&P's just been doing very poorly. So it's not necessarily just crypto alone that's been weak. It's been the traditional markets as well. And the traditional markets have actually been worse off. I mean, they were much better off the entire way up, but now they're worse off. Like it's just been literally red day after red day on the S&P, and Bitcoin's been holding. So that's helping at least a little bit, but I do not like it when it spikes. I keep spiking lower and lower and lower, and the leverage traders try again and again and again and again, and it just doesn't do anything. So it is a sign of weakness in my eyes, especially given that that's happening at range low. But with the S&P trading the way it does, it doesn't really surprise me that we're doing that. So it's kind of like that one's not factoring in too much into my analysis, just because I'm saying the S&P is weak. Bitcoin is relatively strong, at least on that front, like at least in the last few days. But these spikes in and itself not a good sign. So like it's you have a good argument and a bad argument, they kind of cancel each other out. I just look at the price action itself, and it's a shitty range with shitty resistance and shitty support. And I wouldn't want to bet on either one of those.
Don, I tried to throw you a life raft to start bull talking now that the market was green, but you're not taking the bait, are you?
No.
The plan remains unchanged.
The plan remains.
Fine, fair enough. Also, the S&P, I don't know if this is just, I mean, this is sort of altcoin PTSD, but look at it on the daily. I'm just like, oh, I guess it's going to retrace that entire diagonal leg now. I mean, that's not how the S&P works, but it would be fucking funny.
I mean, look at it on the weekly. It's quite brutal looking.
Yeah, it's not great on the weekly. Did
but
we talk about this, or was this part of my fever dream that there was like a daily market structure break? If it
you were talking about 52, I think, or
something like that.
I don't remember, 51 or 52.
It's just like the daily lowest close, I think. Like 51.17 or whatever. Yeah. But that's in crypto. This was just like fully retraced back to like 4,700.
Yeah,
it's like fill the inefficiency or whatever. The diagonal void that's left behind. But some of these high timeframes on the S&P do look a bit shitty. Obviously, the extent to which this matters it remains to be seen. We haven't been in a kind of macro correlation regime type of thing for a while. That's been less important, at least.
I mean, technically, like the S&P went up for like since October 22, right? And Bitcoin went up basically since October 22. Besides, like we had the FTX crash in between, like so we had an extra down month, but that's it. Like they bottomed kind of on at the same time. So I think you'd think that if the S&P kind of like does something to the downside, I think just on the grand scale of things, it's probably going to mirror each other, especially given now that we have the ETF flows, right?
Like a shared investor base.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like a bunch of them will basically, like, if the S&P goes down, they will risk off. If the S&P goes up, they will be more happy to punt more.
Well,
So
thank God there's a monthly engulfing brewing on the S&P.
yep.
No, that's a very reasonable point, actually. I think I'm just so tired of the so-called macro regime, at least the micro sort of nuances
Yeah.
of it that people are getting obsessed with. Of, oh, but look, the PPI under the hood is actually more bearish than it seems. It's like, bro, listen to yourself. You know?
I mean, they have been so hilariously wrong, like all the macro people.
Yeah, like there's this one guy I know who said that it was going to go sideways for 10 years. Can you fucking
Oh,
believe it? Sideways
yeah.
for 10 years in range between like 4.8 and 3.6 or whatever.
Oh,
Insane.
fucking moron.
Ramblings of the delusional.
The funny thing is, like me, I got the S&P reasonably wrong. I mean, I got the bottom right, but I got everything else wrong. Like, I thought I was gonna basically retrace starting at 4.3, and now we're trading at 5. So that's
After a nuke.
It's quite, yeah. After, so that's quite bad. But I at least got the Bitcoin part wrong, right? Not wrong.
Almost
But
Freudian slip yourself.
yeah, the macro analysts with the rates and everything, they got everything wrong.
They got everything wrong. But they get carry at the end of the year or whatever for their shitty funds. So, and you know, that newsletter revenue be monthly, Don. So
oh yeah, shit. Who's actually losing?
they're fine. I reckon they're fine. Other BTC timeframes that may be interesting. The weekly.
Yeah.
This shit just looks weird to me, you know?
It's a fucking weird chart.
It's a fucking weird weekly chart.
I mean, it's the same with the wicks, you know? Like, the same thing I said on the daily time frame. Like, what the fuck are these wicks to the downside? It's so odd.
It's called absorption. Read a book.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Depends if the market goes up or down. I did go for a bit of an esoteric swing. That's not a comment on my personal life. I'm still talking about the chart. I had a weekly cluster, like literally on those 2 down weeks before the all-time high closing week at 67.2 to 69k, and I was like, well, this is at least something on the weekly. You know, it's the last little consolidation before we had a failed breakout. So that I could see that being a valid weekly resistance, even though it's not the cleanest one. But we don't have the luxury of dealing with super clean levels at these heights. What do you think of 62 to 69 / that weekly cluster? Is it just pure noise, or do you think it might be one of those saucy ones that works out? The only reason I mentioned it is because we had a weekly at least subtle market structure shift where it made a lower low close on the weekly time frame, and we haven't had that since like 1864 or some shit. That's the only reason I gave it significance.
I haven't actually looked at that, but yeah, we actually did. I think it's somewhat decent. I mean, I have a support at the previous all-time high close before the false breakout of that range, so 60k.
Yeah. Tagged perfectly. You bought the bottom, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's right.
This is what you do. You FUD on the show and you're just like buying while you're doing it.
Yeah, and then I have resistance at the high, like the just the highest move before the recent all-time high, so 69 point something.
I see.
And then I'm like, okay, it's somewhere in between there. But I actually don't hate the support.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Don.
I mean, it's a big German compliment.
I don't hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys have done enough hating for all of us. You're not even allowed to laugh at that joke in Germany. You just get arrested. Eve, someone left a really funny comment on the Altcoin Thursday episode. There were some really great comments there, and I appreciate all the comments, positive, negative, mixed. One of them was like, you're still stuck in whatever year, no wonder you're losing type of thing, which was really funny. Because I think the watch list we talked about is at least reasonably up to date. Like, I do look at top performers for the week and that type of stuff. And also, for very obvious reasons, we avoid like shitter new stuff.
Oh, but that's what you have to do to get with the times. You have to shill like the 5 million market cap coins, because those actually go up.
I suppose so.
I mean, they go up because they're being talked about by an influencer, but it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter.
It's insane that the audience that is being led to the slaughter is carrying water for those influencers. If that makes sense.
It's insane. Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect, right? Like if you're into that kind of stuff, then you don't even have to present some sort of fake moral defense or think about the trade-offs. You're like, this is what my audience wants. Look, they're actively asking me to dump on them, which is incredible. Actually, you couldn't make up better circumstances. So
I
that
mean,
was one comment. The other one was about ETH, saying, guys, just kind of give up. You say you're done with it, but you keep going back. And I admit to an abusive relationship with the Ethereum charts. But let he who is without sin cast the first stone on that one. You know.
Also, I think it's foolish not to talk about ETH. Like, that's just silly. It's like not talking about Bitcoin, right? Like, if you have if you look at crypto, you have to look at Bitcoin and ETH, and everything else you can like do in isolation. Like, you can do Bitcoin ETH you can do Bitcoin ETH, whatever the fuck bottom of the barrel tier shitcoin you have.
Sure.
But if you're ignoring Bitcoin and ETH, I think you're just a little bit redacted,
yeah. But this kind of happens every cycle where people get so enmeshed into, is that a real word? I don't know. The comments will let me know. Into the altcoin ecosystem, they just like forget BTC and ETH exists and see them as like boomer lol moves 2% type of thing, even though alt BTC pairs, alt ETH pairs, high time frame support resistances on BTC and ETH are like some of the best signals you can get for your altcoin trading. So ignoring them completely I don't think is particularly great. ETH BTC,
it's still shit.
I mean, yes, fundamentally that is still dog shit. So the ETH BTC is kind of hovering as always at the lows. There was a bit of a reaction on when it spiked the actual January low, but fuck all to be said.
That just looks so sad. ETH BTC is such a sad chart.
It is a sad chart, and I think it'd be nice for this thing to just. I mean, we've been talking about this for like 6 months, but also, did you see we got tagged in a tweet? I think there was someone tweeted, make a note of the people who are bearish ETH BTC and sort of remind them in whatever period of time, you know. And then someone tagged us being like shots fired, and I'm like, what a bizarre claim to make, as if we're the bastion bears for ETH BTC. I mean, we've been bearish this thing for, I don't know, a year, 2 years. It feels like forever, a year at least.
More than a year.
It's like, what do you want at this point? No one's saying just go short ETH BTC. That is the, I don't know, king make a trade or something. But being bearish / agnostic ETH BTC, as this show has been, it's not like I don't know exactly what the intention was there. I think maybe someone just trying to stir shit, but I found it quite funny. ETH USD, on the other hand, your genius co-host pointed out a mere 12 hours ago, it wasn't 12 hours ago, but in yesterday's show, the adamantium support, Don, on the daily at 2,900 to 3K. And there was a gargantuan bounce from that level. Everyone is in mega profit, stops break even. So, I mean, do you want to pause for a round of applause now, or do you want to do it at the end of the show?
I'll keep it for the end of the show.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to that one. Anything different on the ETH bounce compared to BTC, or is this...
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty much the same chart. ETH BTC hasn't done anything, so...
That's true. Well,
it's been bleeding out, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the memes are still holding. 4K, 3K, 2.5. The memes are still doing their job, and 3K is holding for now. It's
for now. How ominous, Don.
I mean, it's the same situation as Bitcoin, right? Where you have a bunch of wicks into like below support, and every time you bounce a little, and so far you have bounced a little bit on the daily. I'm not necessarily sold on it, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Like, me personally, I look at all of this and I'm just kind of like, a bunch of people basically try to short like idiots, and we talked about this yesterday. Like, it's a little bit of a shitty place to short, and they're getting squeezed, and they might get squeezed over and over and over again from the support, right? As long as you find people willing to short, there's probably going to be squeezes. But I think the direction generally is probably down, at least for now. Like, that's my opinion. Like, you squeeze as often as you need to kind of punish the people bottom shorting, basically support shorting. But once they stop, I think price is probably going to head lower. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. So, yeah. But that's just kind of, when I look at these charts, that's how it looks like to me.
Heavy, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it just looks heavy. Yeah. But like, and this is a thing, right? Like, when you have a market that's been hot, people like to trade, and then it gets boring, and then they're over eager to short supports and whatever the fuck, like doing dumb shit like that, because they've been getting used to trading 24/7. And I think that's basically what we're kind of falling victim to right now, where a bunch of people are too actively trading this thing, while there's really nothing that screams like trade me right now, in my opinion anyway.
Very reasonable take. And as we said, we're perfectly hedged. If it goes up, went bearish at support. If it goes down, went that bullish either. So
Yep.
Can't lose. That is the point of these videos, obviously. And I mean, I don't think the altcoin landscape changed much since 9 hours
since
ago.
3 a.m.
I mean, Doge is doing some wicks, but hasn't. Look, the support you were talking shit about. No, actually, that wasn't Solana. Never mind. I was about to hallucinate a support on Dogecoin that I called out, but it's just complete nonsense. I didn't know such thing. Solana, on the other hand, that weekly level, which you became enamored with after checking it out. Obviously, our audience pico longed below it because they know better than to buy the level itself, and are in mega profit now. So.
Yeah.
Although all these charts are the fucking same, right? It's kind of what we were talking about yesterday. You've got weekly and daily range lows. They've been hammered 2 or 3 times, and you're getting bounces from them. So that's kind of most charts, or at least most of the good ones. A lot of these just kind of full retrace. They're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and you don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole. But the strong stuff is at local extremes. But it's like the 3rd or 4th time at the local extreme. It's becoming less extreme with every test. It's like going on some sort of amusement park ride. And the first time you're like, oh my god, this is the novelty gets to you, and it's so different, or whatever else, adrenaline spike. And then by the 5th time you're like, what the fuck am I doing here? Where are the snacks? It's kind of what it feels like, price action wise.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's interesting the first time. It might be interesting the 2nd and 3rd time, but at some point, just let it go. Just
like dating, right, Don?
I don't even know what to say to that one.
Good, don't. Jito is up 11%.
Oh.
So why didn't you tell me to buy this yesterday?
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Solana.
JTO,
sorry, I'm just bad at English.
Oh, okay. No, it was probably me being bad. Because I was like, I looked at GTO and that's some random shitcoin. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
My watch list is kind of bland, by the way. For a big, well, I say a big bounce. You're right, it is 2%, but shut the fuck up. For a visible BTC bounce, altcoins aren't rushing anywhere. Either that or our watch list is mega washed. But I don't think that's the problem.
I mean, WIF is up a lot.
WIF is up a lot, of course it is.
But that's to be expected. I think in general, like the hot coins that we've had will stay hot on every single bounce that you get for a while, and then they stop being hot at some point. But it takes more than just a little bit of boringness on Bitcoin to make that stop. And I think WIF is still in the limelight, which makes it basically go up more when Bitcoin goes up and goes down more, like much more when Bitcoin actually disappoints to the downside.
Yeah, but trader's paradise on that one, nonetheless.
Yes.
You get large reactions either way. Trades very technically, retail holder base, pretty spicy in that regard.
Yeah, and I mean, it bounced perfectly. It bounced decently from the range low, and I mean, there's room to go to the range high, but I still don't like it below 3.2.
You don't like it below 3.2. Yeah, 3.2 was that sort of inflection point you talked about. And I mean, that's just a really good level in general. Whether you use the old high or the cluster, it's already been bearishly retested as well, at least the underside of it at $3. Yeah. So you might see a market structure shift if you're waiting for that. And yeah, just very basic TA stuff applies. And that's part of the appeal of meme coins in general, right? You don't have like Wintermute picking off your stale limit orders. Although that's not really what they do. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a less competitive market. Less sophisticated market, larger retail sort of holder base, and as a result it trades pretty straightforwardly, pretty technically, and you're not going to get any complex fucking valuation models being applied to this thing either, or complex execution algos or anything of that nature. So it's kind of you in the trenches with the tards playing line make boing, and if that's not paradise, Don, I don't know what is.
Well said.
If you ever want to feel old, by the way, I just brought up 24-hour top gainers on Velo, and it's ONG, ONT. I'm sensing a trend here. Can you think of what is the 2017 coin with the McDonald's partnership that you should long in line with this trend, Don? Go.
McDonald's.
OMG. Remember Emmys ago, McDonald's
partnership thing? I was about to say OMG because I got the O part, but I was like, was that McDonald's or was that something else? Because I thought they had like a supposed partnership with Microsoft or something.
I think it was McDonald's. Or maybe it was Microsoft, and then everyone who longed that news went to McDonald's. I may be misremembering, but I think it was them years ago, McDonald's. Maybe some 2017, 2018 connoisseurs can tell us. ONG, ONT, JTO, Saga. Oh my god, Lisk. LSK.
Oh, blast from the past.
Wow, throwback Thursday or Friday. Sorry, I didn't know what day it is.
That's gone up.
Is it the old? Is it the actual Lisk?
Yeah, the actual Lisk has gone
Man,
up.
that coin owes me so much money. As a percentage of my 2017 portfolio. Of course you did. Probably on my behalf. Or on my back, I should say.
But the Bitcoin pair is brutal.
As you'd expect. But I mean, for 2017 coin.
That shot, dude?
Let me look at this. Here we go.
Oh, what the fuck?
But we're just feeding the comments about us being boomers by looking at Lisk BTC.
Oh, but I mean...
Like... Oh, wait, what is this?
What the fuck?
Oh my god, that is... Yeah, that is a chart. This is what most alts you'd expect to kind of look like over time though, right?
Yeah, I mean, turn off log, and then it's hilarious. Price action just disappears.
They changed the log button. Where the fuck is it? Hold on.
You just go.
Oh yeah. God, I can't even.
You cannot even see price.
Can't see. This is just a long consolidation before a move out. That's how it works, right?
That's how it goes. Yeah, it's just a lengthy sideways consolidation.
A healthy shakeout.
Yeah, the sideways consolidation is down like 70, 80, 90%.
Yeah,
disregarding the 99% that it's gone through before.
Yeah, but it's up today, Don, and that's what matters. Are you a trader or a historian? Jesus. Whiff at 17, Ton, the Telegram coin, and LPT as well. I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah, I mean Ton. Honestly,
I know, of course.
Yeah, Ton. I think I even shit talked that like a while ago because I was like, "What the fuck is this?" As in, not really shit talked. I was just like, "I have no fucking idea what this is." But Telegram coin. I mean, I doesn't sound that dumb to me. I
mean, it is your retard hedge portfolio, Don.
It is very fucking dumb because why? But it's also like seems like the like an interesting place to do business.
They're just putting fucking ads in people's Telegram channels as well. Have you seen that shit? It's like yeah, and even if you have premiums, people are getting ads put in their Telegram broadcast only channels, and of course it's crypto fucking shit coins and scams.
Oh, great!
Very bullish for adoption. Large caps, by the way, Ton is number one at 15% on the day. ICP. Yeah. I mean, look, every internet computer needs a protocol. That seems
it's such a good sign.
It seems self-evident, right?
If ICP is up, I mean, the market has to go up, really.
Makes sense. Uni is up 8%.
Yeah.
So, as always, Don says it takes 10 years. It takes 10 minutes. Solana 8, and then as you start getting closer to the 5% mark, Filecoin, STX, Aptos, ADA, and then we start getting to the break-evens as well. So yeah, I think just more of a sort of overnight bounce in BTC. Altcoins usually need a bit more room before they start getting lifted, especially if the market's kind of getting its dance moves from BTC as it has been. And what you're saying is, I'm getting way too excited over a 2% bounce. Is that true? Is that your view?
I mean, generally, we're running into the halving now, right?
Yes.
Like it's tomorrow, as far as I understand, or like not even like I think it's like 12 hours from now.
It's in like 100 blocks or something. Yeah.
So like trading wise, I think a lot of bets are just off.
I mean, half your coins are fucking disappearing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how are people going to react when half their coins are gone? Like, you don't know. Like, there's a lot of new holders that don't know that this happens every 4 years. And I mean, like, you know, like what happens? You don't know. No, but for real, like it's a news event of sorts, right? Only for the dumbest of the dumps, it should be a news event, but it is. So that's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be trading afterwards. Like, is it going to be bullish immediately? Is it going to be bearish? Is whatever. Like, all of that is going to tell us much more about the market than anything else. So I'm kind of excited to see that go over. And then I think it's easier to make calls. Like that's I love it when you have these kind of very telegraphed, very obvious news events, or like just like something like the halving, where you can immediately kind of check, okay, is there underlying strength or weakness in the market? Because right now, looking at this range, like, is that a range that is underlyingly bullish or bearish? It's really hard to say. But if you have a big event, you can kind of judge whether this range is bullish or bearish just based on how the market reacts to that event. And I think that's going to be nice. For example, like a recent example, we had that whole Hong Kong ETF, whatever news, right? And we went down afterwards. And that's not like this tiny event, but it's still like it shows you that the market's just not ready to go higher.
It's like a mini health check, right? It's like a
Yeah,
snapshot
exactly.
of the market when you get these news events and you get to see how price reacts.
And I think the halving is going to be an even better one. So if we're gonna just start walking downwards, I think that's a very bad sign. If it starts kind of like going sideways, hyping up afterwards, so that could be quite a good sign. And then I think after the halving, neither the range low nor the range high would do shit. So you have to kind of do with levels in between, I think. So yeah.
Your favorite news proxy type of gut check, I suppose, of sorts.
Yeah, to kind of figure out whether you're on the right side or the wrong side of the market.
Yeah, I've always found with the halving, the look back period for when people analyze whether it was priced in or not tends to be so dishonest. Like the market will go up fucking 8 months later or some shit. They're like, oh, see now the halving is, kicking in, like the Litecoin meme that we've had on this show.
It's so dumb. Like every time I think like there's a few people like Nick Carter, I think. Is that his name? Yeah, right. Nick, yes. Anyway, that kind of shit talks the halving every time, and I'm like, I agree. It's not like it is somewhat priced in. It's just generally speaking, the market goes up in crypto, right? So people are like, oh, the halving. Look at price, like you said. Like, look, price went up 8 months after the fact. This shit has gone up generally speaking, right? Like it's very hard to pick a time frame where this thing isn't up only. So obviously,
well, I'm fucking long apparently, but
but obviously, like you're gonna find enough evidence to suggest that it's the halving that's driving price up. But you could also be like, there could be 5 or like whatever events in your life, and you could be like, hey, every time I visit my grandma, which is every 3 years, the market generally has gone up in the next 3 months. So it's positively correlated with me visiting my grandma. And you could make that exact same argument. And you would look at the chart and you'd be like, I'm a fucking genius. This is how price is made. But I mean, if a market just generally goes up and you pick something like the halving, obviously that's gonna look good. But I think that's not how it works. And it's but it's an argument every single time. I think it's kind of like a dumb argument because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Exactly. Whether it's the halving or just Bitcoin in general going up.
It's just something to talk about. It's something for sell side talking heads to write in their newsletters and stuff.
Exactly.
And this is coming from someone with a defunct newsletter. Although the grandma analogy was really good, Don. Although both could benefit from cutting their emissions in half, to be honest. So there's always that. This is actually a perfect segue to one of the news articles, because whenever I read sort of crypto news that's price based, I get not frustrated, but it's at least funny to read because they just put together this word salad, this incoherent cauldron of random things that are happening at the same time, and then try to assign it to price. The classic. So here's one from our favorite JP Morgan. They expect Bitcoin's price to dip post-halving, so clearly you ghost wrote this. And the view event is already priced in. Definitely ghost wrote this. But if you look at the arguments, it's like the core premise is we do not expect Bitcoin price increases post-halving as it has already been priced in. In fact, we see a downside for the Bitcoin price post-halving for several reasons. And these reasons include, and then you just fucking throw the kitchen sink at this thing. That's like the classic. I mean, listen to this. Still being in overbought conditions, according to analysis of open interest in Bitcoin futures. Additionally, the Bitcoin price is still well above JP Morgan's volatility-adjusted price of 45,000. I don't know what that means. Compared to gold, and
completely made
up, and above its projected production cost post-halving of 42,000. And also tepid crypto venture capital funding this year, as we discussed, a bit of a weird argument, despite the crypto resurgence, could also drag down price post-halving. The analysts restated they're fucking doubling down, Don. If crypto VC isn't here, the coins can't go up, especially BTC, which crypto VC are famous for deploying into, right?
Yeah, it's just dumb. Like you come out with an argument and then you just look for the dumbest arguments in favor of that
Yeah,
argument.
you,
Like,
you pick.
what the
You
fuck?
basically think it's going to go down, and you're like, okay, what ammo can I find? You know.
Yeah, but that's embarrassing.
But also the open interest thing. What the fuck? I mean, those. I mean, unless they're talking about what maybe CME open interest or whatever, but like crypto native open interest got fucking flushed down the toilet. You know, it's one of the largest wipes that we've had. I appreciate that flush down the toilet and wipes are two idioms that maybe shouldn't go together, but I don't know what that means. The JP Morgan volatility, I stopped reading at JP Morgan's volatility adjusted price compared to gold. You know, it's like if you start using your own indices for your own analysis type of thing, I'm like, yeah, it's not going to take that too seriously. And then you and I know that people trying to put a floor on BTC price based on, oh, these are the mining costs and this is market cap relative to gold and this is like on-chain support. We've seen a near infinite number of versions of these, of people trying to build models that have an inherent floor in the BTC price. And obviously this only happens during a bull market, right? And that floor always gets fucking flattened. And it's not even like, oh, teehee, we dipped below. No, Bitcoin breaks models. That's what it does. Thankfully, it does it to the upside as well as to the downside. But these kinds of, okay, we're safe because there's some arbitrary metric that corresponds with the USD value. I don't think that shit has ever worked. And I think it's a really bad way to look at markets in general.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, these kind of models and all of that, like, it reminds me of the stock to flow garbage, where like people just make some shit up.
Which one?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's like 3 different versions, and they just kind of retrofit it.
But new people still get sucked into it. That's the worst part, right? Like,
because it sounds so
not
smart.
going anywhere.
It sounds so smart, right? Like they're like, oh, these people need, like, they must know what the fuck they're talking about, given they have a fucking model for this. But it's not how it works, and these models always fail. Like, it's the only model that doesn't fail is the rainbow chart.
And your fiance.
Oh yeah.
No, I agree. It basically gives you a false sense of security. I think that's at least my best explanation for it. Where you're like, oh yeah, it's quant, math, science, certainty, and just so happens that it means it's going to go up a lot all the time. And no wonder you fucking buy into that thing. It basically gives you intellectual cover for retarded views. The other article I've got is crypto liquidations spike in pre-halving market volatility. So we're fucking blaming the halving for everything now. Someone shorts halving, someone longs halving. Iran, Israel, actually no, it's the halving. Like, it seems that this is the go-to narrative, even though I think it's probably the biggest nothing burger one out of all of them.
Yeah.
And it's never been sort of supply that has made that's been responsible for a large part of BTC volatility, at least in my view. That's like predictable by definition. It's in the code. It's the demand side that's insane and cyclical and goes from 1 million to 0. It seems to me much more important to focus on that than these sorts of telegraph changes in emissions. Now you could argue that but the demand adjusts according to those emissions and that supply, but I don't think that's true. What do you think on that side of what matters more for BTC pricing?
I mean, if people start selling, it's much more important than the limited supply side. I just generally think, like, given that the halving is less relevant every halving, as we've talked about before, just by design, I think at some point that is just so little that it doesn't really matter that much anymore. It's much more generally, like, when you think about it, if sailors started to sell tomorrow, that would have 1 million times more of an impact than the halving does. And there's a few individuals in the market that I think have the same kind of impact. And in general, just kind of the vibe in the market dictates much more, right? Like, in crypto, this is especially true. When people start freaking the fuck out and the vibes get bad, there's so much more Bitcoin and crypto being sold, and they don't really care about the emissions or whatever. They're just like, vibes are off, let me sell. And that's going to have much more of a price impact. Now, obviously, the less the less emissions Bitcoin has, like that's positive for price in the long run. If you completely disregard the fact that it's also less secure in a way, I don't think that's necessarily a problem for right now. And with ordinals, it's a little bit better. But just generally, like there's a few factors where you actually don't want it to decrease too much. But it's obviously like it's a little bit of a drag on price, and when it decreases, it's a little bit less of a drag. But I don't think it's too relevant.
Well, irrespective of what happens to the market price, the halving will be blamed one way or another. Apparently,
Oh yeah,
that seems to be the narrative convergence.
I mean, the market is gonna, like in 2 years or whatever, the market is gonna be up, and people are gonna be like, look, the people that said the halving isn't important, they were wrong.
And then you show them a Litecoin chart.
Yeah, but like that's not how it works, because then people are like, oh, it's different. But obviously the halving doesn't, like, I think Litecoin is a really good example, and I've seen a lot of people kind of make fun of the Litecoin example because they're like, yeah, but Litecoin's different. But I think it's a really good example we had halving, and this shit just basically like just went to zero against Bitcoin in comparison, and just generally hasn't been doing too much. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily just the halving that's going to dictate price, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, there are better catalysts out there, surely, with like more immediate market impact. Like a Sailor TWAP has more market impact in the short term, at least, than this kind of stuff. And at least with the Sailor TWAP, you can actually fucking see it and attribute some amount of price action to it, right? Now, obviously, it gets noisy with like front running or whatever else, but you can see it and it's there. Whereas with a halving, how do you measure whether market impact is halving related or not? I mean, you can't, especially if the look back period is apparently infinity. It becomes very difficult to make a case for it being a specific catalyst. Bitwiser's spot Bitcoin ETF registers first daily outflow as negative streak continues. How fucking dare these people sell the coins, Don? Like, we gave them an ETF at a very reasonable Bitcoin price.
Yeah. It's not like we front ran it to shit.
It's not like we front ran it to shit. You know, these are fair terms, and they did a good job initially. Just go in, ape in, buy, lots of trading, lots of volume. But now we've had outflows that weren't just from GBTC, and we've had a few days of zero inflows as well.
Preposterous.
I mean, if the SEC is going to investigate anything, it should be these firms, I think, and their clients specifically. Also, that's a pet peeve of mine. When people say BlackRock is buying, I'm like, yeah, okay, there's like a couple of funds that BlackRock is like, we can have a BTC ETF allocation to or whatever. But like, people are making it sound like BlackRock itself just has this balance sheet and they're putting BTC on it and those are the BTC flows. It's like, no, those are their clients. Like, those are people and companies and funds, etc. It's not like BlackRock itself is doing the buying. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's just a very weird. I don't know if it's deliberate, but
I think it's
an obfuscation of sorts.
Because Larry Fink just keeps on shilling crypto.
Well, thank God for that, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty Chad, to be quite fair. Like, that's like, you have like one of the more impactful people in finance shill crypto on the world stage. It's quite cool.
Yeah, although I don't know, he goes back and forth between kind of not caring about ETH and being a BTC maxi, and then talking about like tokenization, that old meme from 2017.
Oh yeah, he's gonna try to tokenize some Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin famous for its tokenization and smart contract capabilities. Although it's getting better, thank fuck, dude. You know, like, people are actually using this shit, and then they're inscribing and BRC20. Like, I'm sure there can be a ton of like scams, dog shit, stuff breaking or whatever, but like, at least people are using the chain.
Oh, I think it's honestly should be terrifying for altcoin people. Like, if you completely disregard Bitcoin, and I think like no one really reasonable does anyway, but if you completely have disregarded Bitcoin, it's kind of like not a nice position to be in when you see that Bitcoin is starting to be more relevant in other areas as well. Like, it's not just a pet rock. I think that's quite interesting, and I think that's also one of the areas in crypto that's probably going to do like quite well into the future. Like, the whole, like, everything on Bitcoin, I think, is just like, that's the new thing in town now. And that's the thing where people haven't really spent that much time looking into it. And so I think that's going to be where you can get asymmetrical risk to reward opportunities.
Asymmetrical, like those opportunities are ass. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And also, it's such a fucking hassle buying some of these things. Feels like for a boomer like me at age 27, you need a computer science degree to get your hands on these things, which is quite bullish. Or at least if you want like some evidence that you're fucking early, is the fact that there's so much friction in gambling.
Yeah, when it fucking annoys you what you have to jump through, like the hoops you have to jump through on something that a lot of people agree is actually quite interesting. I think that's a good sign that you're quite early.
Well said.
But yeah, I am a lazy person. So like,
I can't even get you to update your watch list from 2017, let alone start BRC 20ing or whatever.
Yeah, give me like a year or two, and then maybe
a year or two. Yeah, when it's listed.
Maybe I'll update to 2019, 2020.
Oh, I see. It's just like the halving.
yeah, it's a little bit lagged,
Perfect. But what do you think of this ETF thing, by the way? Could it be a live by the ETF, die by the ETF type of thing? We mentioned before on previous shows that it remains to be seen how jumpy these people are. They've been all right so far. Even on days where some ETFs have had outflows, IBIT, the BlackRock one, has had inflows. GBTC in general doesn't seem to be as huge of a deal, although they still have just a shit ton. Even though, just to be clear, that when people say GBTC has got all this BTC or whatever, it doesn't mean those people are just going to get out of GBTC and sell and fuck off. They could just move to a cheaper ETF, right? It's not like all of that is supply that's going to be dumped onto the market. Although we've seen tranches of that when it was tied up in creditor, bankruptcy court, whatever stuff, the ghost of 2022. Overall flows for the spots Bitcoin ETFs have slowed since peaking at a net daily inflow of 1 billion on March 12th, which is mental. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'm neutral here. I think you raised a really good point that it remains to be seen whether they get panicky if the S&P keeps looking like shit. But if we can get sort of a bad streak of ETF flows and hold 60k, that's not a bad look, right? Although I think these are the types who will panic sell sub 60k like breakdown type of thing, which might make for a good entry as well. Do you have any initial impressions on our new TradFi friends and how they're trading this, or their holding / risk appetite in general?
No, it's really hard to say. Like, I think we have to go through like basically a boom and bust cycle to kind of be able to tell how they trade. Like the S&P has to go down like 10, 15, 20% and up 10, 15, 20%. And like all that stuff, I think is going to be relevant, which is really annoying. Kind of obfuscates, whatever.
Obfuscates.
Thank you.
Although I prefer your version, whatever the fuck that was.
Obscure. Whatever the fuck.
Obscures.
Yes.
Oh, you put obscures and obfuscates together.
Yes.
Obfuscates. Nice.
Whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
Hides.
Yes. So it makes it more complicated.
It does, yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't appreciate. I like the simple things.
I don't appreciate it. It's so funny. So you're saying they need to be tested, really?
Yeah, it needs to be tested. I think making any assumptions before they are actually tested is a little bit, I mean, it's a waste of time.
A little bit premature.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm very familiar with that in my personal life. Bored Apes floor price hits lowest point since 2021.
Down it's below 10 ETH now.
I haven't checked.
Oh, let me check.
Sank to 10.9 ETH.
Oh, yeah, it's back to 12. Because I checked and it was at 11 and I was like, oh, shit.
Oof. So, Don, are you buying... Two questions, one legitimate, one fully illegitimate. Okay. One is, are you buying Bored Apes, given they're down so much? They're down 90%, so they can only go down 10% more. That's just maths. And the second question is, do you think NFTs have been replaced as the easy gambling moat into crypto by meme coins?
No, I think it's just a cycle thing, basically.
Right.
And they have a really bad reputation from last cycle, because I think everyone that got into NFTs is down now. Or like obviously like a few people made money, but anyone that's held
the fucking artists, mate.
Yeah. But this is quite brutal, right? Like Bored Apes at 12 ETH, they were trading at 100. And this is amidst ETH going down. I mean, ETH is still down from the all-time high by quite a bit, actually. Like ETH is down 30-40%. Bored Apes are down 90%. That's quite brutal. I'm not buying Bored Apes. I find them quite ugly and quite boring, realistically.
I mean, it's in the fucking name. They're bored apes, Don.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that interesting. If I was gonna buy an NFT,
here come the punks. So
there's a few, like everything on Bitcoin I find interesting. I think that could have an NFT season of its own.
Do you have
basically.
any?
No, I'm too lazy.
Great. You need an assistant.
I would.
Wait, that's me.
But I think that's interesting. I mean, that's what I've been saying for months now, and I've been told they've been doing really well. I've been even too lazy to.
You're like, I can't check. I don't know how.
Yeah, I'm just like whatever. But that's what we've been chilling, right? Like on this show for months at a time. Where I was like, if you want to be early to something, do like the whole ordinals thing, and that's supposedly done really well.
And you shield base as well, and I got rugged 8 times. So
base did really well too, no?
Well, not the meme coins that I bought.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I
don't know. Some dev is very happy with me. I'll say that much.
Anyway, punks on ETH, and then everything ordinals. I think everything else is just kind of shitty, not interesting.
No Solana NFTs, Don?
No, thanks.
Not surprised you don't have any NFTs on your favorite chain.
No, I don't know. I think if I wanted to go like I think still like ETH is still the NFT chain for now. But if I want to go off ETH, I most definitely would go on Bitcoin. I think that's 10 times more interesting than going down the list of other altcoins, and Solana is one of them. I think it's could be interesting if you get an NFT season, whatever, but then I think the ones on Bitcoin are going to do better than the ones on Solana. And otherwise, like the kind of established NFTs that are out already, I would want to be on ETH rather than Sol. And the new NFTs that are not out or just have been existing for 3 months or something, that would be Bitcoin. So
yeah,
there's no space for me for Solana on that.
So Sol ends up taking the midwit spot, in your view?
I think Bitcoin is just on the NFT front is the obvious bet. Okay. I just like punks, so I don't think I would be anywhere else for NFTs.
Punks are the exception to the sort of Bitcoin NFTs only rule.
Yeah.
Well, your conviction speaks volumes, given you have fucking 0 and can't even check the price. So
yeah, I'm way too lazy. I have too much to do.
Clearly all in. That's all I've had for this, Don. We're in the huge 5-minute consolidations that will define the fate of future generations on BTC, and it's up more than 2% now. So clearly, me having my jubilation and celebrations were not premature. 2% is a big deal, especially now that BitMEX offers 250x leverage. I saw that headline somewhere. Yeah.
Oh,
or at least for like a halving product or something like that, there was 250x. I'm sure the exchange that sponsors this show will be very happy with us just talking about other exchanges' products. That's fine, right? Like, I'm not going to get a tap on the shoulder or something.
I mean, before I would trade 250x on BitMEX, I don't know, like just throw my money down.
Just burn it.
like legit, BitMEX offered 100x back in the day, and they very generously liquidated you on the tiniest move.
Before, when you should have been liquidated.
Right? Oh yeah, way before. I did a whole thread on this on Twitter where I was like, you guys need to stop, because basically you would guess, right, that they would liquidate you anywhere close to 1% of a move, right, like 100x leverage, whatever. But they liquidated back in the day, and on BitMEX, liquidating meant that you lose everything, right? Like that's a little bit different nowadays on other exchanges. They liquidated you on the 0.4% move, which is, and then just
allegedly in your experience.
Yes, which
in Minecraft.
In Minecraft years ago. So yeah, I don't know if that's still the case or not. I don't know how the insurance fund looks on BitMEX, but that would not be the place where I would want to be trading. I mean, I would not want to be trading that leverage generally, but with their history, I would not necessarily want to trade these kind of products there.
I don't know, it sounds like you're a pussy.
Maybe.
Also, you mentioned the article and thread that you wrote. Do you remember that, Don, when you used to be a contributing member to Crypto Twitter and you'd actually do fucking work and sit down and write shit and share your thoughts? Now it's just sardonic sarcasm and nothing else.
I mean, I think it's an upgrade.
Anyone that tries too hard on Twitter, I think, is a red flag.
Exactly.
Wow, that sounded very Gen Z of me. Gen Z? Gen Z? Whatever. English is hard. Calling something a red flag. I'm too old for that shit. I'm fucking 27, man. It's not a word I'm allowed to use, I don't feel.
No. Yeah.
It's a worrisome sign. There we go.
That's a red flag that you saw this as a red flag.
Me too. Jesus. Before we fall further into solipsism, let's wrap this up. Like the video if you enjoy Casual Friday. Apologies for the late update on Altcoin Thursday, but we went through a bunch of alt charts there, which is why we didn't do it today. So be sure to check that out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're catching up with the BTC price, but not in the way that we planned on it. So let's balance that out a little bit. And thank you to Woo for supporting the show. Centralized Trading Exchange. Their links are available in the description below. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.